This year was a great year for anime watchers to the point that even Fall alone had its fair share of epic fights. With the passage of time, animation techniques have gotten better and there are still stories that can put you on the edge of your seat. But no need to worry about missing out on at least 10 of these, since we put together a list of the top 10 fights of Fall 2023. Starting off, we have Toman vs Tenjiku from Tokyo Revengers, our badass main gang versus the big baddies of this arc. Tokyo Revengers have had its fair share of some pretty awesome fights, but the best one in my opinion was when the outnumbered Toman fought Tenjiku. Even though the main powerhouse Mikey wasn't present at the beginning, Toman still kept up pretty well. Considering that this fight was to settle the score between Kisaki and Izana, the stakes were actually pretty high. The setup was very dramatic and the fight itself was great. Although there weren't any godly animation sequences or impact frames, it kept the classic fist fight that we usually see delinquents have a go in. The way they set up Izana and the entire fight was awesome, and Takemichi finally popped off. You can really see how his character developed from a guy who pretended he was a delinquent to the acting president of the Tokyo Manji gang. Everyone believed in him, that he could carry Toman on his back, and this man did it with no hesitation at all. But hey, have you ever wondered what it would be like to talk to your favorite anime character? Well, there's actually one app that might help you, and it's the sponsors of this video, Talkie. It's a great AI chat companion application that can actually just mimic almost any anime character you want. You can even personalize it by adding some custom data to the AI conversation models, or if you want, you can talk to models made by other people. When making your own characters, you can give life by personalizing their visuals, narratives, voices, and even conversation styles. You can also follow the characters you like, so you won't ever have to go through the trouble of searching for your new virtual friends ever again. This means you can quite literally talk to Eren and ask him what's his master plan, or talk to your favorite waifu and just have a nice time and they'll instantly reply. I also found another cool feature where you can get exclusive cards inspired by conversations. Just like any card game, you can also keep on collecting them and eventually even be able to trade. Imagine having an entire roster of waifus. It's not limited to anime too, because it can be TV show characters or even straight out of your imagination. You can check Talkie out on the iOS App Store and Google Play Store by clicking the link in the description and comments. Join me and let's hop on this free new trend together. Maybe you can even fulfill your childhood dream and talk to Santa. Coming up next is Sunraku vs Lycagon, the Night Slayer from Shangri-La Frontier. You know, a monster is extremely powerful when it defeats another monster that you are having a hard time with. That's what happened to Sunraku when Lycagon showed up and defeated the difficult red-cap goblin. Sunraku quickly realizes that this opponent is way out of his league, but that doesn't stop him from taking it head on. The beast could literally have killed Sunraku in a single attack, and that's what made the fight so intense. Even more, the animators made the beast so huge and intimidating with a dark aura. They even added those critical texts every time Sunraku gets hit, which adds to the gaming vibes the anime focuses on. It's also not like your average gaming fantasy anime, because from this fight alone, there's little to no usage of CGI and 3D animation at all. I don't want to spoil the end of the fight, so I'll try to restrain myself a little bit here. But man, was it amazing. Not a lot of attention is being given to Shangri-La Frontier, but it might just be one of the most well-animated anime this fall 2023. Moving on, we have Adonis going absolutely insane in Kingdoms of Ruin. Now this entry is less of a fight and more of a massacre. But it still deserves a spot on this list since the humans did technically try to fight. Anyone watching the series knows that Adonis hates humans after Chloe's execution, and this moment was him showing all of his rage. The entire scene just tears you apart because as much as you can sympathize with Adonis, there's also the slaughter of innocent humans. But hey, we're here for the revenge story, even though a giant robot and machine guns may be overkill. Now we know what will happen if magic and modern weapons finally mix together. Overall, the animation of this fight scene may not be as amazing as some of the other entries on this list, but it holds weight because of the emotions on display. You can clearly see how Adonis's rage drives him, but his inner guilt also comes out since he starts crying after massacring so many people. The character's emotions are displayed really well, and Yokohama Animation Laboratory did a fine job of animating it, especially since it's not a AAA title. Up next, we have an entry from the big three of shonen anime.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
It's One Piece. Green Bull versus the Scabbards, Yamato and Momonosuke. The entirety of the Wano arc was gorgeously animated, and all credit goes to Toei Animation. Well, most of the credit after Oda, of course. The fight between Green Bull, the Scabbards, Yamato and Momonosuke was as hype as it was in the manga. Admiral Green Bull's first appearance was really intense since the entire gang had just gotten done with fighting Kaido and his crew, so the stakes were super high. This was just like the time after Gecko Moria was defeated, but Kuma showed up out of the blue to absolutely wreck the Straw Hats. Now, getting back to the fight, it has stuff like a dragon, Green Bull turning into a giant tree man, ninjas, samurai animal hybrids, just basically everything. So that's awesome in itself, but watching the Admiral display the full extent of his power the first time he ends up in a fight is the real cherry on top. It was just a really intense fight where the Straw Hats might have had to fight again if not for a certain red-haired pirate.
Look in there!
Blasting their way into the list, we have the Primordial Demon Violet versus Luminous Valentine. From that time, I got reincarnated as a slime, Vision of Koleos. Now, these two are amongst the strongest in this anime, so having the two face off makes for an amazing fight scene, although it's clear that the two are more or less just playing around instead of actually showcasing all of their power. The fight looks absolutely gorgeous, especially how the red and purple attacks look on screen. It's fast paced and has some spectacular animation, with the magic looking as good as the attacks in the main series. It's always awesome seeing a primordial demon and a godly vampire fighting. The fight is a bit short, so it doesn't fill you up like you want, but it does a fantastic job of showcasing to us viewers what's about to come in the next season. Too bad we don't get to see who the winner of the fight would be, since both the opponents seem equally matched.
それじゃあ僕は帰るね。バイバイ。変わんないね。デッドチン。
And now that we're down to the top 5, we have Andy versus Gina in Undead Unluck. Now what's funny about this fight was that Gina just never seemed to let go of her love for Andy, but it was really twisted. She wasn't even done with her monologue and then Andy just threw explosives at her. Gina's entire ability was unchanged, which was just so overpowered because she can stop an object from changing. She can make a sword, create barriers, and even look young forever. The entire fight was so dynamic, and it was amazing to see how Andy used his own body to use really creative attacks. Not only that, the battle was both awesome and a little bit funny. Their battlefield, the animation, and the final blow where they used Fuko's Unluck to fire a literal laser at Gina. Everything was in this fight, and Gina's death had us feel some heavy emotions that we wouldn't have expected from this anime.
バカがシワの数でお前の魅力は変わらない砕けろ
Before we reveal the top 3 list, we have Ragnar versus Grimweld from Ragnar Crimson. Now you'd think that dragons are already a very powerful type of enemy, but then come along superior dragons. As the title says, superior dragons are more powerful than the already strong dragons that our heroes have to fight. Unfortunately for Ragnar, not even Leonica is enough to deal with superior dragons, even though she's currently the strongest person in the area. Seeing that she's gonna die, something amazing happens. Without spoiling anything major, Ragnar gets a power that looks amazing on screen. It's like watching Goku transform into a Super Saiyan. If Ragnar hadn't gotten his power, Leo would have died at the hands of Grimweld. But even so, watching Ragnar destroy such a powerful opponent was extremely satisfying. It's also refreshing to see how Ragnar wasn't the wholesome type of MC, and he never had second thoughts when killing his opponents. He freezes everything in his path, and with one flick, shatters them into thousands of pieces. Making way to the top 3 now, we have Shadow Garden versus John Smith from Eminence in Shadow. What's interesting about this fight is that John Smith, aka Shadow, is the one who created the Shadow Garden in the first place, although his opponents didn't know that as he was in disguise. But still, Shadow demonstrated his power once again while fighting the Shadow Garden members. The animation of this series has been amazing, and the choreography of the fight is just mwah. All in all, the attention to detail was to die for. We get to see the gap in power between Shadow Garden and Shadow himself, and take note that he isn't even using his nuclear magic. In an instant, he was able to trap 2 members, and in the end, Shadow Garden couldn't do anything but watch John Smith have his way. Next up, we have Frieren versus Aura from Frieren Beyond Journey's End. The main character of the show goes up against the main villain of the arc here. Pretty standard stuff until you see how Frieren completely overpowered Aura. I'd also be hard-pressed to call this a fight scene since it's pretty much one-sided. Everyone who's watched the series already knows how Frieren keeps her mana suppressed. Unfortunately for Aura though, she hasn't watched the series. Aura is significantly powerful since she is one of the 7 sages of destruction and has the scales of obedience which allow anyone with more mana complete control over the person with less mana. She tries to use this against Frieren, but her biggest mistake was underestimating the greatest grandma in anime. The moment's extremely satisfying as this super powerful villain is defeated almost instantly. It's an epic moment to watch and showcases how strong Frieren really is. The animation is one of the best this season, especially the character's auras, but the best part was how Frieren turned her back before Aura even died. If eradicating demons was a job, then Frieren would be a millionaire. On the top of this list is a fight that many people have been waiting for. Sukuna versus Mahoraga from Jujutsu Kaisen. Sukuna, the main antagonist of the series, against the strongest Shikigami of all time. Suffice to say, the fight is just perfect in every way. The animation was godly and the soundtrack is just so good. The choreography, the camera angles, everything is just so perfect. But would you believe that it's reported that this episode was only 30% complete? I can't even imagine how it would be at 100%. We see Sukuna in all of his arrogance as he decimates an opponent that can adapt to just almost anything that's thrown his way. From start to finish, the fight was pure destruction, obliterating entire blocks of Shibuya. Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen may have been full of amazing fight scenes, but this one is at the top of the season and our list. And with that, we wrap up the top 10 fights of fall 2023. We're sure there were other fights that you loved that didn't make the list. So as always, make sure to let us know down in the comments. And don't forget to check out the sponsors of this video, Talkie, for some fun anime AI companion chat. Links in the description. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want more of this content. See you in the next one.